Welcome back, everyone, to this bonus episode, and this is coming from the Thriving Educator Summit, which is created by Mitch Weathers of Organized Binder. Mitch has been a friend of the podcast for quite some time, and it was such a joy to be a part of this wonderful free event. So in this segment, Mitch facilitates a powerful conversation with TJ Vari and myself around what it really looks like to lead well, whether you're an aspiring leader or a current school or district leader. During our discussion, I share about the Aspire to Lead cohort, which is reopening and launching a new group on March 1st. So far, our first cohort has completed a leadership inventory to reflect on the impact of the previous experiences, initiatives, and committees that they've been on. Then we shifted into building key relationships in the district. So we looked at mentors, coaching, and the people that you need to know for future opportunities. And then this last month, we've been working on clarifying our leadership mission, vision, and values so they can lead with greater intention and confidence. If you're an aspiring leader who wants the same level of support, clarity, and a wonderful community, head over to joshtamper.com/leadership-cohorts. You're going to gain a ton of additional information and, of course, the application process to become a member of this wonderful cohort. With that being said, I cannot wait for you to listen to this energetic and enjoyable conversation with myself, Mitch Weathers, and TJ Vari. Welcome to Aspire to Lead, where we empower educators and school leaders to grow, inspire, and thrive. I'm your host, Joshua Stamper, author, speaker, and leadership coach, bringing you conversations that spark transformation, challenge the status quo in education, and equip you to make a lasting impact on your campus or in your district. For more information and resources, visit joshstamper.com as we're looking to ascend to new leadership heights together.
Our next two speakers, this is a shift back to a conversation between my colleagues and friends, Josh Stamper and Dr. TJ Vari. I'm looking forward. I've known both of these guys for a long time and have a ton of respect for them. And for all of you, before I let you two give us a quick intro to you and the work that you do, we've talked a lot about teaching and a lot about strategies. And where we're going with this session is really for those of you who have that itch for leadership in some capacity. Yes, you crazy people that get that itch. These two guys have a lot to share in that space. So we're going to talk about leadership, but I would love for the two of you, maybe TJ, start us off. Super quick intro for the sake of time. Same thing with you, Josh, after that. Then I'll give you my first question I have for you.
I don't know about this placement, Mitch. I'm a little nervous. We're going after Kim, Paul, Sarah.
I know, it just worked out that way. Sorry.
And before Danny.
Before Danny, I know. That's might be the most intimidating thing, the closing keynote.
No, TJ Vari, I work for Maya Learning. That's MAIA Learning. And we do college and career planning worldwide. Before that, I was an assistant superintendent for a decade. Before that, a middle school turnaround principal and an English teacher in a CTE only high school. And so, Paul, I would like to just continue the conversation about writing instead of talking about leadership, but I don't know where Mitch is going to take us. So take it away, Josh.
I'm more down with leadership than writing, so I'm backing Mitch in the direction he's going with this conversation. My name is Joshua Stamper, and I was a former administrator. That was where most of my career was, almost a decade there in that position. Before that, I was a teacher and athletic coach. Currently, what I'm doing is speaking all over the country, supporting school districts and schools and communities, building a community here that we'll probably talk about today, which is the Aspire to Lead cohort. Written a couple books. Not as many as TJ. TJ has a full library that he's written, but myself, I've got the two. And then podcaster also. I had the wonderful opportunity to be with these two gentlemen, both Gamros also with the VIBDU crew.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, TJ does like to write, everybody. So he and his co-author, not all, but most of your books have been co-authored. Book number 7 coming out, and I know he's already got another idea. The guy likes to write. So does Josh. He has a third book he's working on, everybody, or at least we're trying to coerce him to write because it needs to come into the world. Now, here's the first question I have, because I really mean it. There's some of us that are in the classroom and have that pull or have that itch, that maybe it's a calling that like into leadership. And I want to be clear when I say leadership, guys, I don't mean just principals, assistant principal, leadership in some capacity. And I joke about it, and you guys know me, like I I did not have that pull and was like, I'm never going to become a school leader. Those people are crazy, right? But people do it well and they have that calling. So if you're tuning in and you kind of have that calling, that little something in the back of your mind, what I'd love for you two to reflect on is more of just like the mindset shift from that classroom space, classroom teacher at whatever level, to a leadership space or mindset. What could you teach us if I'm that person that's not in leadership yet? And don't worry, we'll get to some leadership proper questions for current leaders, but what do you have to say about that?
I think Josh should take that one first. He does a lot with Aspire, and that's his wheelhouse.
That's a good point.
For sure. So I think for those who are thinking about leadership, and honestly, if I'm being honest, Mitch, with my story, like I wasn't thinking about leadership. The reason I said athletic coach is because that was the first opportunity that I shifted from my classroom to our school. Because as a coach, especially in Texas, it's a different role. It's a different perspective. And so I was able to support, I mean, we literally had hundreds of students in our athletic program. And so I was supporting them beyond what the typical day was for me before. I was, I hate to say just a teacher, but I was just an elective teacher. At least I was viewed that way. And I got tapped on the shoulder by my assistant principal. And that was the bug in my ear that got me to start thinking about it, but then also launch into a master's program a month after that conversation. So, for our leaders that are on the call right now and listening, I would say, if you see someone that has those qualities, those characteristics that you see in them, just take a minute, or two, and do the same thing. Tap on the shoulder to have that conversation of, you know what, Mitch Weathers, I think you're doing awesome work on this campus. And I can foresee you being a leader in some capacity on this campus or in the district. Have you ever thought about that? And just that simple question is going to stimulate a conversation that may change the trajectory of their life. I know it did for me. Mm-hmm. And so, if you're starting to think about that, that's a shift. That's a mental shift of, okay, I am an expert in these four walls, and now I'm having to take action outside of that, and it's uncomfortable. And so I need to start knocking on some doors, because as we know, the door won't open by itself, right? We need to start asking for opportunities. We need to also be understanding that we don't know everything. And now we are a learner and a listener versus being comfortable in something that we've been an expert in for years.
Okay. And you both do a lot of leadership coaching around the country, and we can talk about that. TJ, I'd be curious to know, for you, I think I'm just going to project as myself, who spent so many years in the classroom. I can't imagine like my first day as an assistant principal or in some leadership role, right? I interviewed, I got it. How do you do that job if you don't have a mentor, a coach? And let's just be honest, that mentor may not be the principal, right? Above you. Be great if it was, if you ended up in a scenario where it's like, wow, this is an incredible leader and I'm being mentored and shepherded and I'm learning from them. What do you have to say about that, TJ?
Well, I mean, first, I think every school leader deserves a coach, including assistant principals in that new role. The Schoolhouse 302, the leadership development company you were alluding to, my co-author, Joe Jones, the company that we built, and we do coaching and keynotes and full day institutes, but we also run all of the induction program for the Delaware Department of Education through Wilmington University, a partner of ours. And I say all that because new school leaders in Delaware automatically get an induction program where they're getting trained in very specific sessions on the PSEL standards. And Joe and I do that training and other retreats and so forth, as I'll allude to throughout the talk. But I would say if you're not getting some type of induction training or a mentor, reach out to Josh, to the Schoolhouse 302, figure out how to get yourself a coach, a mentor. I mean, I have a coach and multiple mentors like now, and I have through my entire experience as a leader, and I required all my assistant principals and principals when I was assistant superintendent to have a coach. And then the last thing I'll say to piggyback on something Josh was talking about earlier, lead something. If you're thinking about leadership to the point you were making, Mitch, on like day one is a lot easier if you've led something. You were the department chair. You were the professional development chair. You took initiative, did a reading initiative. a writing initiative based on Paul's work, and you led that for a period of time as a teacher, that really gets you cooking better than just getting a master's degree in school leadership and your first day on the job is trial by fire, right?
Yeah, I can imagine. How do people that are interested in making that or currently in leadership roles, right? AP, principal, district leadership, superintendent, assistant soup, all of those leadership roles. How do you focus out? Because there are a ton of resources, and I fear someone just goes to Google and like school leadership help, or there's a ton of books, there's podcasts, there's PD course. How do you filter out and focus on what works?
I'll say two things real quick
Yep.
here, and then I'll pitch it over to Josh. Filter out what works is a really good point. I want to highlight that for the listeners. And I would study two categories: school leadership, including instructional leadership, which our latest book is on instructional leadership, time, tools, and tactics of instructional leadership. I would study instructional leadership. I would study school leadership. I would study what works in schools. I would go back to the foundation. I'm talking DeFore, Marzano, the gurus. And then I would study in another category. I would study pure leadership. And here I'm talking about Marshall Goldsmith, John Maxwell, like the leadership gurus. And I wouldn't stop reading until I got to the bottom of the pile in both of those categories. And I would try to replicate what works in terms of leading a culture, leading a school, being a leader, and improving instruction, improving outcomes, improving the teacher experience. And leaders are readers. And if you're not reading, I'm going to say the average CEO reads 60 books a year. So I'm not trying to be average. So I'm trying to beat that number.
All right, Josh, weigh in. We knew we were going to run out of time. So
yeah, me and TJ could talk forever. I would say prioritize depth over volume. So I know that you have more resources at your fingertips than ever before. And it's similar to what TJ was saying, right? So choose one or two ideas that you want to get depth in versus I need to start drinking from a fire hose. We need to look at it as chunking it and understanding that the leadership journey is a long runway. You have time for most people. Like it took me 3 years to get to the position that I wanted to, as far as going through the master's program, getting the experience and doing projects similar to what was already talked about. Like, so I know I saw someone in the chat is like, leadership is influence. But there are so many folks that say, I don't have a title, and so I can't do a project. I can't do anything on the campus because I'm not allowed to. And I would just challenge that and say that if you're an educator, you're a leader. And if you see a problem, you can build something to then solve that. And so it's just a matter of aligning your skill set to what the current goals are on the campus. Obviously, you need to have buy-in, and then also looking at the campus needs. And so, for myself as a teacher and a coach, sometimes I felt like I had more power in that role than I did as an assistant principal. And so I would just challenge anyone that's thinking through that as far as their title, that you have great influence on the campus or in the district. It's just a matter of taking that step to, again, finding what that problem is and then finding a wonderful solution for it.
I think Deborah in the chat has a great comment. I think that alludes to what you're both saying is sometimes you don't have a goal to be a leader. Then you notice that people are following you, And if you were like me, you're like, stop following me. I'm not going into leadership. I did that before I was a teacher. So it's lonely, I'm assuming. And again, I want to be very clear. I haven't been the head of the school, but you know everybody, but you're totally alone at the same time in your title in leadership. So what fascinates me in knowing you guys and the work you do around coaching, mentoring, and in particular, like cohorts. I know TJ already mentioned like state level in Delaware. Talk to us a little bit about aspiring leaders, existing leaders, burnout leaders, overwhelmed leaders, and thriving leaders. Finding what do you have to say about, similar to the conversation with Kim, with teaching, my community, my herd, my people, recognizing that if I'm a superintendent, I'm the only superintendent in the district. So how do you go about, or do you see value in the need for community cohort, something like that? Speak to that for us, because to me that just seems so critical. But again, I'm not an expert in this domain.
You want to go first? Right. I know you have cohorts right now, so I want to I want to make sure we advertise those cohorts so people can join, and then I'll take the tail end of it.
Sure. Yes. So Mitch, to your point, especially like early on, I didn't realize the shift would happen so quickly as far as how people viewed me, right? Even though I had the title of teacher, I was still doing things with the administration. And so then I had people saying things, sometimes behind my back, sometimes right to my face, as far as, you're joining the dark side, right? You're the golden boy, or fill in the blank as to the term that was used. And so for myself, it got lonely pretty quickly because the relationships shifted immediately, right? The conversations that happened in the teacher lounge or the group that I ate with at lunchtime, I'd walk into the room and then everyone would be quiet. It was things that I didn't realize were going to occur and happen at a rapid pace. And so for my joy, my passion within leadership is working with aspiring leaders. I had an opportunity early in my career to build out a aspiring leadership program for the district. Did that for a couple of years. There was great success. People got into new positions right away, and then the district took it from us. And so then I was like, I have something here that I absolutely love to my core. And so I want to do something with that. And so this last year, I built a Aspired Lead Cohort. It's wonderful educators, just like Kim's community, that are here to learn and to grow and to build out literally a portfolio to then be able to then, show their district, their campus to move into whatever position that they want. And so it is a lonely place to be. And so I would just ask, can you do the position alone? Or do you need someone else to support you? And do you have a mentor? Do you have a coach? Do you have a community of people to, help support you, but then also keep you accountable? Because sometimes we want to give up. It's hard. Leadership is hard work. And so I am so proud of the Aspire Lead Cohort and what it's become. And so if you are interested, just head over to joshstamper.com. There's a cohort section you can click on to get more information. But that's what I'm working with is trying to build up people that are not in leadership positions to get them ready for that day.
All right, TJ, you get the final word.
Well, I think to Josh's point, a cohort, a community, a coach, a mentor, someone you can reach out to on a regular basis. The people who I coach, and you can contact us at contact@theschoolhouse302.com. You can check out our work at theschoolhouse302.com as well. The people that I coach, the people that Joe coaches, we coach superintendents, directors. We even coach HR leaders in school districts. One-to-one coaching is affordable. And so I would say I find community in conferences. I'm going to be at AASA next month. We're the voice of AASA at the Conference Daily podcast as well. And so a lot of school leaders will find value and community in conferences, but I would want to have a one-to-one coach. I would figure out how to do that for myself. And again, you can reach out to me. We are available for the people we coach in between coaching sessions. So it's far more than just one-to-one, hour by hour. It's really a mentorship to help you grow.
And remember, everybody, there's speaker booths. So if you're taking notes and trying to get all the links that are in the chat, we're obviously moving quick, throwing a lot at you. The three of us have been lamenting that we only get 20 minutes, because if you know us, we could talk for a long time. And Josh and TJ, you always have such great insights. I'll add one more thing, maybe the link. I don't know if it's in your booth, TJ. TJ has a new column on LinkedIn that is really, really good, everybody. And they're written in a way that it's not going to take you a half an hour to read it. It's not bite-sized, but it's not too long, and it's pure leadership. Not necessarily just school leadership, and recognizing, and you mentioned that, reading books around leadership. You're providing a ton of value for free for people even in some ways there's some community there. I love seeing the comments and people that are reflecting on what you're doing. So thanks, you guys. I love the combo of this, aspiring leaders, Josh, offering cohorts, TJ, serving existing, of course, aspiring, but veteran leaders as well. Appreciate you guys.
Thank you, Mitch. Thanks for the opportunity.
Appreciate it, Mitch.
This podcast is a proud member of the Teach Better Podcast Network. Better today, better tomorrow, and the podcast to get you there. Explore more podcasts at www.teachbetterpodcastnetwork.com. We'll see you on the next episode.